Can we come back to budget now? We talked about 2023, 24, which is where we are currently.
Right.
And we've understood that in the budget, you've said that there are two ways in which you get money into the consolidated fund. You borrow or you raise taxes.
Right.
All that money comes into the fund. We are also of the understanding that money that is borrowed will only be used for development projects. Is that so? In Kenya?
That's what the law says.
That's what the law says. Now, is it at all possible, from all that you've told us, that money that is in the consolidated fund that has been borrowed will be paid out for anything else apart from development projects in this current scenario?
Yes, it's possible.
How? If the law says that you borrow for development, is it possible that borrowed funds can be paid out for something else apart from development? How is that possible?
Well, what happens is that the cash available will determine what can be paid at any particular time. And very often what I have observed is that if the National Treasury has not collected enough, remember that the KRA is under the National Treasury. So every time they make a requisition to my office, they must show me how they have raised the cash. So literally they'll show me the receipts from the KRA, what they have collected on any particular day.
Yeah.
So like yesterday I was signing they gave me what they had collected the previous day.
You must see the money before you approve it.
I must see the money. Yes, before I approve. And I must see them in form of, they send me copies of we call it miscellaneous receipt.
Okay.
And also vouchers, they prepare vouchers. So what has happened so often?
Do you cross-check with the central bank to ensure that money they speak of is actually in the central bank?
When they give me the miscellaneous receipts, yes, there is a way I can cross-reference. Okay. Yes, I can cross-check.
Okay.
So once then the balance is okay, there'll be so many requests at any particular time. And what I've found out, for instance, there'll be requests from the ministries. Let's say for the purpose of argument that we get requests worth 300 million. And then they look at what KRA has collected and they find KRA has only collected 270 for purposes of argument.
Yeah.
So there is a shortfall of 30
million.
And in this shortfall, they then find out that the previous day they also received 50
requests for
50 million, say, from World Bank.
Okay.
And it is waiting to go to a development project. But they need to finance the 300 million that was requested.
Because it's end month and it's salaries.
Yeah, and it is salaries.
Okay.
And the counties want to close down. So what they have done, a lot of times, they then take part of what has come in as loan funds and pay it out. And it is, it is something we've been arguing over.
Is this procedural?
It is procedural in terms of cash management.
Okay.
But they are supposed to then to collect and refund, so to say. It is like you taking from one pocket to another. But over time, as the requirements have been increasing, we have seen ourselves get more and more into loan funding to do recurrent expenditure, to the extent that sometimes we've lost track. We've lost track as to where the loans went and how far the revenues went. And so it is a gray area.
How is it possible to lose track, though? Let's look at this example that you've given. It's a very nice example. The requests that have come from ministries, 300 million shillings, right? The collections and the receipts that you've been presented with for how much they've collected, 270. We have a shortfall of 30. But then we also received some World Bank loan of 50 million shillings.
Yes.
For you to approve this 300 million shilling request, you first must see the money,
Yes.
right? So it means that you are agreeing with the ministries and the National Treasury to dip the hands into this pocket called loan.
Not exactly.
When you approve expenditure of 300 million shillings, knowing that there's a shortfall of 30 million shillings, you've approved that some of this loan money be used in, let's call it short-term use to cover this.
No. Now you are mixing up
Okay.
the role of the bank vis-a-vis the role of the controller of budget.
Okay.
For me, all I need to know is there is sufficient balance to
In the
service.
bank?
Yes.
It doesn't matter
Yes.
Doesn't
what.
matter where it's coming from.
It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
I see.
Yes. But the central bank, as the bankers, they are supposed to compartmentalize. Yeah? So that is not for me to say no.
So you only check
But
the
I do query.
CR balance in the consolidated fund.
Yes,
That's
yes.
it.
Yes.
So what's the point of asking for these collection receipts then from KRA to
Miscellaneous
confirm
receipt.
the miscellaneous receipts?
Yeah.
What's the point?
To know that it is there. Yeah?
All you
That the
need is
CBK actually has a balance that can cover. It is like, let me again give an example. You have a personal checkbook
yes,
and you want to pay school fees.
yes,
But part of what is in your account is a SACCO loan, which you want to use for constructing a house.
yes.
Part of it is your salary.
Yeah.
Part of it is
Rental
probably,
income.
rental income. You know, there are many types of income, but they have all been banked in
One account.
that same account.
Yes.
So, if you take some of the rental money and pay school fees, in the short term, there would be nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But in the longer term, you have to say what were the objectives of this rental income. I was supposed to, say, renovate
Yes.
the property so that I can get more money.
More money.
So you have to put back that money where it belongs. So when we talk of cash flow management is the very short term to achieve a certain short-term objective. But if you go to the law, for instance, now in the PFM Act, you will find a sentence which says, in the medium term, you must ensure that loans are only used for development. So do not forget that term of the medium term. Medium term means that in the short term, you may have challenges, but you are not supposed to
extend
those challenges, over the medium term.
Dr.
You are
Nyakang'o,
supposed to correct that.
Now,
Yes.
we say you're supposed to correct.
Yeah.
But then could this be the problem that could be faced by Kenya today? That correction over years has not taken place. And so what you find is that, sure, in the account there's this money. You know what it's supposed to be used for. If you use it in the short term for another purpose, either two things should have happened. One, you should have explained what happened, or two, you should have put the money back when it comes from other sources. Are we seeing a situation where that money has not been put back and loans continually being paid, taken from where they should not have been taken from? Is that the real situation?
That is actually the real situation. You nailed it. Over the medium term, we have not re-examined where we may have used this money for what we call budget support.
Yeah.
The money has gone into recurrent expenditure, but we have not then gone back and said, wait, we used this for this recurrent purpose, but we need to put it back because the project needs to go on. So there are situations where projects have been abandoned or not even started at all.
And yet there was money allocated for
And yet there was money borrowed
for
that purpose.
for that purpose. But then
And when it
redirected.
comes now to repaying, we are repaying through the nose, so to say.
Yeah.
So money is
Yes.
being repaid that was borrowed for things that have actually not been done. I think it's a little bit more than just a worrying situation, wouldn't you say?
It
Dr.
is.
Nyakang'o?
It is very worrying. It is very worrying. And that is what we've been looking at that with the Auditor General to find out if we can retrace our steps, because it's been a long time.
But how? I'm still confused here, Dr. Nyakang'o.
No, just say it.
You are an independent office.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Created by the Constitution, supported by the PFM Act and others. Your role, Controller of Budget, Article 228, 4. The Controller of Budget shall oversee the implementation of the budgets of the national and county governments by authorizing withdrawals from public funds under Articles 204, 206, 207. Those are the ones that you said were creating these funds. Consolidated Fund, the Equalization Fund, and the County Revenue Fund.
Yeah.
So you authorized expenditure,
not expenditure, withdrawal,
right? Sorry, you authorize withdrawal by overseeing implementation of the budget.
Yes.
You have a budget here. You can see this is the appropriation budget, recurrent. This is appropriation budget, development.
Right.
And this is the Finance Act. This is how the money is coming. This is how the money is going. When you receive this request to spend, you must satisfy yourself that it is in accordance with this law, right?
Yeah.
And this is the Appropriations Act and the Finance Act, and that there is money here. By the time we are saying we have run amok, we have gone beyond the short term to the medium term, should your office not be the first one to detect the red flags?
Yes, it is. And it's been reporting.
So when you detect the red flags, what does the law allow you to do? Aside from reporting, because you're overseeing and you're controlling, does the law not allow you to say, freeze,
Stop it.
show me, before I authorize for you to pay salaries, show me tax revenues that can pay salaries?
No, the law does not allow me to do that. So, Eric, I would like to refer you to 2 pieces of legislation.
Yes.
First of all, I would like you to read Article 228 thoroughly. Then you will read the Control of Budget Act of 2016. And having read those 2, then you read the PFM Act. The PFM Act also has regulations which show you the house of how to do what has been recommended.
Yes.
And when you look at those, I do not have the role of finding out what goes into the consolidated fund. My role is to release what is in the consolidated fund.
You only deal with what's in the pot.
Exactly.
How it got there is not your business.
It's not my business. It's not my mandate.
Okay.
That is the mandate of the National Treasury.
Okay.
So what the law has done is that for each of the offices that are created, each one is given a mandate. So this one will end here, and this one takes over, and then the next one takes over. So when expenditure takes place, and my office has reported on budget implementation, I don't audit.
Yes.
Because then Article 229 kicks in.
Audit of budget.
And then the Auditor General comes in to tell us what exactly was the money spent on, and was it spent lawfully.
Okay.
So let's not forget, by trying to think that the Control of Budget is an all-embracing office which can do collection and do withdrawal and then audit the same. So that is where we go wrong. Don't forget, the government banker is the Central Bank of Kenya. They also have their mandate. So you have to know, because they bank both for the counties and for the national government. So you have to know what is the mandate of the central bank and where does it end.
Okay.
And where does the next one come in?
When a request comes to you, and maybe then in line with this question, when a request comes to your office, under which circumstances can you say, no, hold on, we are not going to release this because, or are we saying, so long as there is money in the consolidated fund, I am going to approve? What we are looking for, the only standard requirement that you're looking for is availability of funds.
No.
Or is there a situation that would arise where you say, all right, myself and the Auditor General have some questions. We have seen some abnormalities. And based on that, we are not going to approve the release of this fund that you request because of 1, 2, 3. Do situations like that arise?
Very, very many. And every single day, I'm busy rejecting requisitions until they comply with the law. And the law, as given to me, is very broad. Although I'm guided by the Constitution and the PFM Act, the law is very wide. So there are very, very many reasons why I reject, not why I would reject, why I reject requisitions. And there is a report I did in 2022 because, say, the counties were complaining.
Those ones are not happy with you at all.
That I'm rejecting far too many requisitions because I tell them to stick to the straight and narrow.
You don't want them to use manual payroll. You said there's money being paid outside of payroll. You said some of these things a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely. So you know that I do reject. And it's not only that. I reject requisitions. Even right now, as I'm talking, there are rejected requisitions on my desk, still awaiting additional information or completely rejected. So it's not just about having sufficient money. There are many ways that the entities can flout the law.
Okay, can I go to a bit of a larger issue here?
Yes.
Again, we see money, right, approved by yourself to pay for loans, which you've told us here that we do not know what this money was used for.
Yeah.
That's already established. And here we are as a country paying huge in terms of interest. And that money has been approved by your office for payment on something that we do not know where it went. Would that not be something that you would be able to say, hang on a minute, we're paying for a loan that we don't know the origin of the initial payment for in the first place?
Whom would I be telling? Wait a moment. That is perhaps what we should be answering. Whom do I tell?
Who's requesting for this loan to be paid?
Yeah.
So,
who places that request?
I'm asking that as a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Because I report to Parliament every quarter telling them things that are not right. And the way it is supposed to be is that then Parliament needs to pick up that and run with it. Now, what you probably would be asking, do they discuss those reports?
Do they understand the reports?
Do they understand them in the first place?
I'm always there to explain. But I can tell you that the last time I was invited to discuss, say, county reports was in 2021.
Okay.
And those reports are full of the kind of questions that you're talking about. Constantly telling them this is wrong, this needs to be corrected, the public debt is going the wrong way, we are paying this for recurrent and not development. All those reports are there. If you came to my office, you'll find them. I can show them to you.
Have you ever rejected withdraw from the consolidated fund monies that were going to pay for a certain loan, who during your other exercise of your other responsibilities, and this is monitoring of projects, you went on the ground, you found the budget had appropriated money for construction of a certain road or a certain dam. There is a loan to be paid for where the money to go and construct that dam was coming from. My officers on the ground have not seen a dam, but there's a request here to pay interest for this loan.
Yes.
Have you ever said, no, I am not authorizing this because there's no dam on the ground?
Yes, I have.
And then what happens?
I mean, then they don't get that money. I have actually cancelled requisitions completely. They don't see the light of day. Yes. Can I give you an example?
Please.
Last year, a requisition came to pay for some roads. And this requisition was to be made from the annuity fund. Now, the annuity fund is a special fund that was created by Parliament to take care of road projects. But it had a whole set of conditions on how you spend from the annuity fund. So when the Cabinet Secretary for Finance came for money to spend from that annuity fund, I asked them to give me the audited financial statements to show that they had actually been using this money for the intended purpose. They were not able to produce. I cancelled that requisition. It was 1.9 billion. It is still outstanding as we speak because they have not satisfied.
And attracting penalties.
No, it is a requisition does not attract penalties.
Okay, it's just an annuity fund. Okay.
Yes, it was the annuity fund. They still have not explained to me how they used the funds in the annuity fund. So I'm waiting for the Auditor General to finalize the audits and bring out how this fund was being used. So I can refuse. I have refused many, many times.
So what I'm hearing you say, Madam Auditor General, Controller of Budget rather, is that the Office of the Controller of Budget prepares quarterly reports.
Yes.
There are many of those quarterly reports where the Controller of Budget has said there's money that has been appropriated for expenditure here, money that has been spent here, but there are red flags as to the source of this fund, or there are loans that have been taken for a specific project, but I do not see the expenditure going into that specific project.
Right.
Similarly, the Auditor General has raised red flags and said there were loans that were taken for use in certain projects, but on the ground, no such projects, or there are questions as to the utilization of this debt.
Right.
And all those reports have gone to Parliament.
Yes.
Now, in our laws, from our Constitution to the Public Finance Management Act, to the Control of Budget Act, to the Auditor General Act and the others, when such things happen, when we do not have prudent financial management of our resources, who's answerable? All of you offices who are in the PFM.
No.
The National Treasury, KRA, National Treasury, the Central Bank of Kenya, the Controller of Budget, the Auditor General, Parliament. Who's ultimately responsible?
Each of the institutions you have mentioned has a mandate. I repeat, they have a mandate.
Yeah.
And they are responsible as far as that mandate is concerned. And that mandate is verifiable, even by the public. They know exactly what each one is supposed to do. KRA is supposed to collect the revenues. They do not approve withdrawals. So, if they don't collect to the required level, they are responsible.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Then you will come to my office. I approve withdrawals. If I approve withdrawals that are not in line with the law, because that is what I've been mandated, I become responsible. If I don't report on a timely basis on the findings of the budget implementation, I become responsible. Then you move to the next. So the auditor will give an opinion. I do not give the opinion. So whilst I may say that the absorption of your budget has been very poor, and what that means is that we may not achieve the objectives that we set out at the beginning of the budget. That's as far as I can go. But the auditor then needs to come in and tell us if the money was not absorbed for the outcomes that we expected, where did it go?
She needs to be able to trace.
Yes. She needs to be able to trace exactly where it went.
Okay.
So what we do, everybody has reporting timelines. For instance, I report after every quarter. So like now, I've already reported on the quarter ending 31st March. Currently, since the year has now ended, 30th June, I've already sent out letters to receive the returns for 30th June. So by end of July, I should have delivered in Parliament what happened in terms of budget, not in terms of expenditure. Please do not mix the two.
It's in terms of budget.
In terms of budget,
Okay.
I'll be telling Parliament this is what happened to the budget. That is very important because it is supposed to help Parliament when they are passing the budgets to then analyze and say, what did the executors of the budget do with the money that we gave them? So it is supposed to be a feedback loop telling them, this is how the budget was executed. Please make corrective measures based on this. Yes.
But the budget, as defined by law, is the estimates of revenue and the expenditures.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So those two are budget.
Yes.
That means as controller of budget who oversees the implementation of the budget, am I right to say that you also have a role in checking the revenue side? If the estimates of revenue said estimated tax revenues are 2.5 trillion shillings, estimated other sources are X amount, and the deficit which will come from debt is X amount, then you also are oversighting implementation of that.
That is very
constantly
correct.
saying, okay, so debt was expected to be 600 billion shillings this year. If it moves to 1 trillion shillings, you have questions to ask, and you're allowed by law to ask.
Eric, you're right, but you are also wrong. I can tell you that I monitor receipts and expenditure by the day.
Okay.
I can tell you what I had yesterday. Would you like to know?
Please.
Yes.
Absolutely. Recurrent, out of a revised net estimates of 1.268 trillion, which was 33.2% of the budget.
Yeah.
The issues, the exchequers I had signed by yesterday was 1.217.9 trillion. Yes? So
These are revised
that is
net.
Yes, revised because now we are using supplementary 2.
Okay.
Yes, the original estimates were a lot lower. The original estimates were 1.178.3
So the revised
trillion.
recurrent expenditure estimates
Yes.
are 1.268
8.8 trillion.
and you have approved 1.217 trillion.
7.9, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Which is an absorption of 96%.
Okay.
Yeah, as of yesterday. So as of yesterday, we were just cleaning up the 30th June figures.
Okay.
So that's a position. On development, we had the revised net estimates of 373.9 billion. This was reduced from the original 424.3 billion. So you hear it went down.
Yeah.
Out of that, I have released 302.06 billion. Yeah? And that 302 is 80% absorption.
rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, on Article 223,
Is equalization.
yes, this is Article 223 recurrent. Those are the ones I told you are, not budgeted but requisitioned. Ever since we had the maize flour, the maize flour subsidy, it is still pending. Parliament has not approved it. So there
has
is
not approved what?
Has not approved
Expenditure.
the expenditure
On
On the maize subsidy.
on the maize subsidy.
flour subsidy.
okay.
Yes. This was 4 billion. Yeah,
So that is still pending.
that is still pending.
Basically
And then on development, there is the amount of 6.091 billion, which was paid to buy the shares of Telkom.
Yeah.
That is also still pending, not approved by Parliament. So we have altogether altogether, the revised for the MDAs is 1.642 trillion, of which I have released 1.530 trillion, which is 93% of the budget.
You say some things still waiting for approval of Parliament.
Yes.
And so the idea is that these things have not happened.
Yes.
This is 223.
It's like the,
expenditure has happened, but
expenditure has happened, but Parliament has not approved.
So how does that happen and still be a position whereby it is squeaky clean? Because if it has not been approved and expenditure has happened, then this has happened outside of the law. So would that be called a fraudulent expenditure?
No, it is not fraudulent.
What happens here?
What happened is that when the National Treasury presented these two to Parliament, the parliamentarians were not satisfied with the reasons that were being
the
given.
explanation given.
But
Yes.
the question is...
Yes. So, if I may finish, they requested certain committees to investigate
Further.
to authenticate what was done with the money.
And is that pending approval, or is there saying that there can be conditional expenditure waiting for this investigation to be completed? Because...
Let me help you there. Remember, it's Article 223, where there's supplementary appropriation,
Yes.
where the Constitution allows the National Treasury to spend
And
pending
Yes.
approval based on certain conditions.
Yeah, but expenditure has happened.
Okay.
So they'll spend, but then go to Parliament and now report and say, by the way, we had to spend because, this and
Time
this.
is
and
are
that.
there
Time is
special
running.
circumstances
Yes.
that
Those special
allows for this?
circumstances.
Are there special circumstances that allow for this sort of expenditure? And if there are, what are these circumstances?
There are as many as the number of people that are available.
On earth.
That I can tell you because in the last, the last government, there were all sorts of reasons why people would ask. They would say there is a function and it was not budgeted for. So give us Article 223. But we would need to go now to my records because they are
Many.
extensive. Yes, they are very many. So what has happened rather lately, this matter of telecom and the maize subsidy were very controversial.
Politically controversial.
Yes, and we were moving from one government to another one.
Yes.
So these were done by the previous government. And now the current one was not satisfied that whatever was done correctly. As at the time the Supplementary 2 was being passed, the investigation reports from the committees were not ready yet. So they have still remained in limbo. So as it is, in accounting terms, they are like liabilities now.
Because you've closed the financial year.
Yes.
There's money that has been spent.
Yeah.
And it has not been
And this
approved
has not been incorporated into
the budget.
into the supplementary budget. So these monies are outside the system
So legally, what does that
until
mean?
the reports
Come in.
come in. Yes, and then decisions will have to be
And
made.
what if the reports don't come in?
There is no such thing like reports not coming in.
What if the
Because
reports come in and they say we do not approve?
The parliamentary committees that have been commissioned to do these reports, for instance, the agriculture something committee must tell Parliament where the 4 billion went. They must. It's not optional. They must report.
You're saying there is no situation where a committee has been tasked to go into the details of such a matter and they have not given a report. They always give a report.
They will always give a report. Never mind the quality of the report, they will always give a report.
Okay.
And then after
And
that,
in fact, for the
Parliament will either
telecom,
vote to accept the report or reject the report.
exactly.
So now what happens if Parliament rejects it, having said that such money was used
It was okay.
outside of approval?
It means that the money should be recovered.
Okay.
Technically, that's what we are saying. If they say that we reject the explanations that you are giving, please pay back the money.
Who are they
Who will
telling?
pay
The
back?
ministry that made the payment,
Now, the
the
ministry-
accounting officer that made the actual payment,
Okay.
will now have to find out how the money can be refunded to the consolidated fund.
Madam, there's a question I have to ask now. There was a case in March. These same matters we are discussing, and we in the media reported that you had been under duress, that pressure had been put on you with regards to a certain payment of 15 billion. Everything you've said about you rejecting requests coming to your office and that not meeting the master that is required, it means there's a slew of very unhappy people who would have wanted certain things to happen, but they haven't happened. Now, that, in my mind, constitutes pressure. Now, what was reported? Was it reported accurately, first of all?
Yes. If you watched when I was being interviewed by the committee, I said that I need time to satisfy myself, to ask for documentation which will give me the satisfaction that what is being requested for is correct.
It's legitimate.
But now, time-wise, here is somebody telling you that you need to do this in the
Now.
next 20 minutes. I mean, does that give you enough time?
No,
No, it doesn't.
no.
And in a way, that person may make you do something you didn't want to do because of the time element. And this is the time they were saying that if this particular company was not paid within a certain time, they would resign a decision. I'm sure you may have read
Something
the
like
rest
that.
of it.
I
Yes.
did read.
The rest of it. So, duress in terms of time is as bad as being told to kill someone
Yeah.
against your wish, because you have to be given sufficient time to verify, to check, and satisfy yourself. So this duress was there, and you must have seen, because there were press clippings of the conversations that went on.
Yeah.
And further to that, I hope you did not stop reading after that.
No, I didn't.
Because all those parties, each of those parties that were mentioned, were interviewed by the same
Committee.
two committees,
Yes.
the ICT committee and the finance, the finance committee.
Yes.
Yes.
You see, you mentioned that the entity you report to your boss is Parliament.
Yes.
Could they not come in and intervene in such a matter and protect you?
Within 20 minutes.
No.
So
Within-
what are you talking about?
I'm actually asking this a very simple
At
question.
what point did you want Parliament to come in?
Did you report this matter as it was happening to Parliament?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Now, what did they do? That's really what I'm asking.
That is what they are still doing. They are investigating. They are investigating what happened.
But let me ask you,
In fact, they have given the matter to EACC
to continue
Yeah.
with further
to
investigations.
continue with further
I think
investigation.
just following up with what CT is asking,
Yes.
at this point you are being put under duress. If you don't authorize this expenditure now, we have found a suitable buyer, but this suitable buyer has many other suitable suitors, all right, for their money.
Yes.
So if you don't approve this, then we'll lose this deal
Yes.
and we'll lose the money.
Yes.
I mean, this is government. This is not marikiti where someone is telling you
Horse trading.
nunua sahi haraka haraka ama niuzie huyu. This is government. You are a finance expert. You are CPA, soon to be FCPA, I'm sure, right? From your experience, is this how really a government makes decisions?
No,
That
it
you know
is
what,
not.
tumepata deal mzuri, if we don't buy, kuna mtu mwingine, it's like we are being sold a piece of land hapa 50 by 100 iko next kwa hii ni control of budget, pande ile ingine ni general of military. Hii land ni hot cake, usiponunua saa hii by jioni nauzia CT surely.
But Eric,
That is, Eric, that is precisely why each of those people was interviewed. So did you watch what they said?
There was no due, there was
Because
no urgency of
I
that
wasn't
sort.
paying. I didn't make the payment. I approved the withdrawal.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm sure you've been listening all along, as I told you, what is the role of my office? I will approve a withdrawal, but the accounting officer will make the payment. For instance, I don't know who was paid. No. I am dealing with the requests of the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. I asked for the contract document. They gave it to me. Yeah. Now they were telling me you must do it within a very short time, which is what I was protesting. I was like, you need to give me time to read this contract fully and see whether all the items have been satisfied. They didn't give me that particular time, which is the reason why they are now being investigated. Everybody must now say, why did you convert this into a market? Because the market was not in my office. The market was at the National Treasury, who were making the payment. So Parliament wanted to know, for instance, at what point was the payment made?
But then
not the withdrawal made, the payment made.
But we have placed a watchdog in the name of Office of the Controller
Eric,
of
please
Budget.
don't mix things. Can we make progress?
Let us make this progress.
Don't mix things. Don't mix withdrawals and payments. You know, I can approve a withdrawal today and the payment won't be made in the next 3 months. Are you aware of that?
That's true.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So by the time you're approving
approving
withdrawal,
the transfer does not mean go and pay. Now, who has the particulars of the payment? The accounting officer.
accounting officer.
So who's the accounting officer in this case?
The PS Treasury.
The PS Treasury, thank you. So you cannot keep coming back to the one, okay, let's look at it Kiafrika. There is the one who allowed the cow into the pen.
Yes.
Then there is the one who will graze the cow
Yes.
for the whole day.
Yes.
So now you keep coming back and saying,
You allowed
fine,
the cow.
you allowed the cow into the field. Yes, you don't want to know how the cow then went
And
and
crossed over
chewed
into the
and
neighbors.
crossed over and chewed somebody else's maize. So I think let's not lose the bigger picture to say at the point that the CS Treasury came to me, I was satisfied that this was an amount that was not budgeted for. I confirmed that
Okay.
it was not budgeted for.
Yeah.
And I also confirmed that a need had arisen for which a payment was required. Now, how the payment was made, you cannot come back
Okay.
to ask me. That one, you have to get the accounting officer and ask them,
I get you.
what were the supporting documents for the payment?
I get you.
Dr.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what happens in these matters? Eh?
Yes.
Like when I ask, it is actually my own not understanding. Everyone who comes here, like you tell us, these things are very simple. And I find them completely confusing because we move from this to this. One moment we're talking appropriation, I'm wondering, just before I understand appropriation, you've now gone to withdrawal, and I'm saying, okay, withdrawals. Then before I understand withdrawal, you've gone to payment, and I'm thinking, so when I go to the ATM to withdraw, I'm withdrawing this money so that I can spend, because that's how I understand withdrawals and spending. And I'm trying to amalgam all these things, and I'm saying, hey.
What she has said is, once you've gone to the ATM,
Yes.
right, and you've withdrawn the money, you don't have to spend all the money immediately.
Actually, I wouldn't go to withdraw if I didn't want to spend it. That's the whole point.
It's not that, it's immediately.
Yes, that is also true.
You are going to withdraw money for lunch. Must you enter the first kiosk?
And
Now,
spend everything.
spend everything
there.
Now you see, when you put it that way, it's easier to understand. But then you throw in the amounts. Now you throw me off balance completely because I can't spend 1.5 billion or 6 billion in a kiosk. Okay? So I'm trying to amalgam this 6 billion and I'm saying, okay, it was withdrawn, it went where, and it went where. So it requires time for all this to sink and for me to understand this movement.
Yes.
But now I've got it.
Now you got it.
Yes.
Great.
You're not the one who
Great.
spent the money.
I'm not the one who spent
Yeah,
the
that
money.
bit I've got. So now I've got it. Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.